I'm back. Road Rants for Black and White on Pop Culture, and I am back with a Mandalorian Chapter 11 review. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, Rhodes, what the hell happened to your review for Chapter 10? Well, two things happened. One, look, it was terrible. It was far and away the worst episode of The Mandalorian since it started. And I was still going to do a review. On a scale 1 to 10, I give it maybe a 3. The camera was in focus. But look, outside of a couple of scenes involving X-Wings, and look, I'm all for slower episodes because I feel like they're character-driven, character-building episodes. When I got to Chapter 11 and saw where we started out, frankly, I was like, wow, Chapter 10 just didn't seem like it was needed. Like the passenger could have just been the passenger to this planet, and this could have been Chapter 10. The last episode was directed by Peyton Reed, who did Ant-Man. He can stay doing Ant-Man. Now, the other issue I had was Pedro Pascal, and it's ultimately the reason I did not make the episode. He made some comments involving Election Day, and I just said, you know what? I'm not doing a review this week. And I didn't cover the topic. I'm trying to stay away from politics on this channel. But he made some tacky ass comments towards many of an American, okay, that voted. And we won't go into that. It pissed me off, and I was like, you know what? I just won't do a Mandalorian review this week. So we're back, Chapter 11, okay? Peyton Reed, he can move on. It was not a good episode. I gave it a 3 out of 10. And it is what it is. It was far and away, in my opinion, the worst since the episode that Bryce Dallas Howard directed last year. Now, Bryce Dallas Howard was back this year. This was her episode in Chapter 11. And it was much, much better than her episode last year and much better than last week's episode. We started seeing now the Clone Wars influence is showing up. We got confirmation of characters we talked about on the Road Ranch channel. Finally confirmed, finally in the flesh. One of my favorites, absolutely showing up. The episode starts out with the Razor Crest arriving to a planet that has a host of Quarrens and Mon Calamaris, right? A.K.A. Admiral Akbar's, all right? Calamaris, whatever. Tomato. I'm a redneck, okay? So anyway, they land city of Trask, if I'm right. I hope I'm right. Well, anyway, they land there and they get out. The frog lady from Chapter 10 meets up with the husband. She's got the eggs. Of course, Baby Yoda didn't eat any in this episode. Thank God, because pussies lost their minds over that. I couldn't believe it. I was like, come on, who gives a shit if Baby Yoda eats some eggs, okay? Not a controversial moment for me. You know, I was sitting there thinking, Jesus, are there going to be any of their kind left by the time they make the trip? But I thought it was funny, so I laughed my ass off. Didn't bother me. Good God. Of all the things wrong with that slow-ass, unneeded episode, the egg eating was the least of my concerns. So, anyway, we land here. The frog lady meets up with, I guess, the husband. And the husband's like, you know, the Mandalorian is like, hey, I'm looking for people that look like me, wearing Beskar armor, right? And the guy's like, oh, yeah, go over to the bar, because you got to go into a bar in every Star Wars episode of anything to find somebody that knows something about something. And they sit down, they're eating, a Quarren comes over. All these motherfuckers are in bad moods. They're all in really bad moods, I've noticed. And he's like, yeah, I could take you to some folks that look like you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And it seemed shady at the moment. It did seem shady. Pre-shadiness oozed through. I'm pretty good at rooting out shadiness. I'm just letting you know I can sniff it out a mile away. So, they board a ship. We saw a little bit of it in the trailer. They're heading out, and the Mandalorian, the child, they're looking out over the ocean, and guy walks up to him behind him and said, hey, we're fixing to feed the Mama Core, I believe was the name of it. And I was like, what? So he said, you want to watch? The child will be interested in that. So they go over to watch this thing getting fed. And when the thing opens up, the child's there. The sumbitch knocks the child in his little crate into the water. This thing comes up, and it's a creature, but it opens its mouth. Looks like a damn sarlacc almost. Just the mouth portion with the teeth. Boom, grabs the child. Under we went. Then Jaren jumps in to go after him, to go after the child, and they close the cage on him. It was like, oh shit, he's trapped down there, can't get back up. He's trying to get out. They're poking at him with all kinds of miscellaneous sharp objects. And then all of a sudden, we hear some music playing, and 3 Mandalorians show up. And they're shooting everybody, and they're wearing blue armor. Very cool. Now we understand better the color choices in posters, etc. Now, they show up. They pull the Mandalorian out after they shoot everybody, everybody that was involved in the harm of the Mandalorian and the child. And of course, we recognize the armor. The helmet comes off, and it is Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan. Clan Kryze is her tribe. Okay, Mandalorians are kind of broke up into tribes, and he's like, whoa, and we fixed a major plot hole in this episode. He's like, you removed your helmet. What the F? And he's automatically like, okay, y'all are not really Mandalorians. And she's like, no, this armor's been in my family for 3 generations, homie. And he's like, huh? And she's like, you're the child of the Watch. Like a religious group that's separated from the Mandalorians. There's different groups, okay? And that group that he's part of is charged with bringing back, quote unquote, the way, which is like, I guess, one of the oldest forms of Mandalorian creed, something that Bo-Katan doesn't prescribe to. Now, Sasha Banks from WWE was in this. She's on the left side up there in the picture. That's Bo-Katan in the middle. And I can't remember the name of the other guy. She is not Sabine Wren, okay? Her character's last name is Reeves. Okay, so just part of the group that Bo-Katan is in. And they're talking. He's like, look, I'm trying to deliver this child to a Jedi. And she's like, I can help you with that. And immediately I'm like, I know you can. So she says, but wait, we've got to go in and we need to get these weapons off this Imperial ship. And immediately you're like, okay, so he's going to help her out. He makes an agreement. Seems like in a lot of these episodes, the Mandalorian is making an agreement in order to get to a goal. Pretty good, except when it's something like The Passenger just happened, right? Works really well with the first episode of the season. Then that formula fell off last episode, and it's back to working very well in this episode. So they board this Imperial ship, and we get up to an Imperial officer, and it's Titus Welliver. I'm like, holy shit. They went and got another sure enough, bona fide television star. He is the star of Amazon's Bosch, right? The detective series that has been so popular. Not to mention, he was in Sons of Anarchy. He was in Deadwood. So that's 3 Deadwood alumni out of the first 3 episodes of season 2 of The Mandalorian. So that's really cool. I mean, he's a hell of an actor, and he plays he is really good as an Imperial officer. Well, anyway, we see stormtroopers there. There's some back and forth firing. I want to recognize something in this. When the Imperials get involved here, the music is really good. The theme is really good, especially when we get to once they take over the actual cargo hold. Once they take over the cargo hold, up in the cockpit, there's a hologram of Moff Gideon that comes up, and Moff Gideon's like, well, essentially, without saying it, Moff Gideon passes on the message to Titus Welliver, and look, he's just an Imperial officer. He passes that message on and is basically like, look, homie, you're going down with the ship. And you're like, oh, shit. So he's going to crash it. He pulls his blaster out. He shoots both of the other Imperial guys that are flying the ship, and he starts taking the ship down. Yeah. Bo-Katan gets into the cockpit with the help of the Mandalorian, and Welliver decides to swallow some kind of self-destruction pill, okay, so he's not captured. But she brings up the dark saber. Where is the dark saber? So right there, we know what Bo-Katan is looking for. She wanted those weapons for her cause, but she wants the dark saber. So where's the Mandalorian? Din Djarin, his goal is to get the child where the child needs to go. Bo-Katan, her goal is to get the dark saber back into possession of the Mandalorians. We know Moff Gideon has got it. That sets up a whole lot of potential showdowns later in the season. We get our first glimpse. This is the first time we see Moff Gideon this season is on that hologram. Again, when we reach the cockpit and Moff Gideon shows up on hologram, guys, I've seen the episode 3 times now. Listen to the music there. The music, the theme right there is very, very ominous. It's very good. It's very good. And you sense the evilness that is around Moff Gideon. Yeah, Giancarlo Esposito is so good in this thing. Even in the little bit we've seen of him now in all these episodes, he makes an impact anytime he is on screen. By the way, once they get a hold of the ship, which they do, Bo-Katan says, okay, you're going to a forest planet, and there you will find Ahsoka Tano. So the name has been dropped. That is now confirmed. We've all known it. There's been slips out there and all this stuff. I reported it on my old channel, my original channel, a ton. Bo-Katan was coming. Ahsoka Tano was coming. We've known it. But it's official now, okay? The name has been dropped. There's a future episode called The Sorceress. I think that's going to be the episode she shows up. Okay? Dave Filoni hasn't directed his episode yet. So, neither has Robert Rodriguez either. So, that makes me wonder what's coming there with his episode. This episode was very good. I gave the first episode of this season a 7.5 out of 10. And honestly, I've went back and I've watched it a couple of more times. I think I was a little low there. I should have went somewhere in the neighborhood of about an 8 out of 10. Last week, about a 3 out of 10. There was almost nothing redeemable about that. It was very cool to see the X-Wings back doing something. Dave Filoni is a rebel pilot, but it was such an uninteresting episode, and it was draggy and it was slow, and I didn't find the frog lady endearing in any real way. This week's episode, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 too. Very good. The only thing I really can knock it on is the further involvement of the frog lady. And the ship crashing. I mean, that was cool. It was cool to see another AT-AT sort of repurposed or showing them having another job of like a crane. That was pretty cool. As with everything, the costumes makeup, all that. I mean, impeccable. I mean, Star Wars series, and it's true Star Wars quality. Okay. Look, I am a big fan of Pedro Pascal's acting. I thought I was a big fan of Pedro Pascal. I'm not. I don't think I am anymore on a personal level. Okay. Which sucks. I loved him in Narcos. I thought it was one of the best acting performances I'd ever seen in a TV series. But look, when you come out and you make some of the comments like you make last week involving the election and attacking, I've said, by and large, I believe Star Wars fans are a conservative fan base. I do. It started as a story of a farm boy. And for these people to want to continue alienating fans with the things that they say, it's just ridiculous. You know, at this point, it's sort of like watching the show and rooting for Gina Carano because she won't back down on her political beliefs. She continues to not back down. Okay, so we've got somebody in The Mandalorian to root for. It's a great show. But I don't have to like Pedro Pascal on a personal level anymore. I just don't. Now I know his political views are straight trash, and I can like his performance, but I don't, you know, it probably shouldn't have affected me having done a review last week, but I was that pissed about it, and I was weighing whether or not to continue to watch The Mandalorian. And I thought, you know, Gina Carano is not backing down, and I'm not going to let this prick take away my enjoyment of this show that I like a lot. So that's my take on it. Okay, I give this an 8 out of 10. Great to see Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan in the flesh. It's great to have that character in live action after watching the character for so long in the Clone Wars. So it was awesome. We've got some good things coming from The Mandalorian. I believe that. Tell me what you think in the comments section. Look, I know I got a little off topic with politics. I felt like I needed to justify why I did not do a review last week. But between the episode being so bad and Pedro Pascal, I was like, I'm just not doing a fucking review. I was like, for 1 week, The Mandalorian can go fuck itself. And that's just the way I felt. All right? I got back on track. They got back on track. And look, Bryce Dallas Howard, way to come back. Way to dive into Star Wars. You did a hell of a job with this episode. Following up your episode last year, this is a much improved effort over episode 4 of last year. So good job, Bryce Dallas Howard. You did a hell of a job on this episode. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.